love a women-only space, but it's cool to like see these really strong women and like really strong dudes do these incredible things with these weights. There are some women where you see them lift and you're just like, that's just the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, wow, the limit just does not exist. So I think it's just a really cool space for women to be in that they shouldn't be intimidated in, especially like middle-aged women. I mean, like, come on, we're out of fucks to give. Like, what else do you got?
If there was one thing the world was asking for, it was for one more podcast about CrossFit. Well, here we are anyways. This is the Silverback Media Podcast, where we share the stories of the everyday CrossFitter so that more people are encouraged and empowered to try it themselves. Here's your host and everyday CrossFitter, Marco Mejia.
What is happening, Silverback Media crew? Welcome back to the Silverback Media Podcast, the podcast for you, the everyday CrossFitter. I'm your host, Marco Mejia. I'm a CrossFit Level 2 coach, and I'm happy to be here with you. My guest on the show this week is Katie Nelson. Katie is a member here at CrossFit North Scottsdale, where I get a chance to coach. And in this episode, we talk through her backstory, how she found CrossFit, how she got into it, and how over the course of her time in CrossFit, she has continued to evolve her approach to CrossFit, so that way it continues to serve her from a health, a fitness, and a longevity perspective. We also talk through the community aspect of CrossFit and how that has been a big draw for Katie to continue to stay in it over the course of these years, especially as a source of encouragement and empowerment for her along the way. Now, before we get to the conversation with Katie, on whatever platform you're listening on, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, whether you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow. Better yet, go do it on all three because the robots are watching. Make sure you share it with a friend, leave a 5-star review, do all the things and clicks to help this thing continue to spread. Send it to a friend that will benefit from this episode. And with that being said, that's 26 down, 10,000 to go. Now let's go talk to Katie. All right, Katie Nelson, welcome to the show. This is officially the latest recorded episode that I've done. This is past bedtime, which is why I have a coffee. So
also past my bedtime. It's 8 o'clock.
It is an honor. It is an honor to be recording this late, and I hope that I hope we can stay on track. But this might lead to just some interesting side quests as we go. So, so let's jump into your story. Let's go back to a young Katie. What kind of sports did you play? What kind of activities were you into? What were you getting into? From a physical perspective or activity wise as a kid.
So when I was a kid, I did a lot of forced family fun hiking. I grew up in Vermont.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I lived there till I was like 9. And then downhill skiing, I think, was like my biggest consistent sport. I wasn't on any teams. And oddly enough, although I would consider myself a joiner, I'm like, I like to join a party. I was not in any team sports.
Sorry, did you say a joiner?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I can join. Like, yeah. I'll support the team.
I'll participate. I'll be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. As an adult, but as a child, I was only in individual self-directed sports, like downhill skiing.
Was that something, I mean, being in Vermont, you probably like had access to go skiing, a decent amount. Was there anything about skiing specifically that drew you to it, or was it just like, hey, you enjoyed it whenever you went and just seemed to stick for you?
It's just, have you ever downhill skied?
Yes, not fast, and I was probably about 9. So I ended up leaning more towards snowboarding, but I grew up in Florida, so this is very, very rare that the chances that I would get to even go skiing or snowboarding.
Yeah. So first of all, this was during the 80s and early 90s. So skiing was super inexpensive and accessible at that time.
Yeah.
Not like now where it's like $500 for a lift ticket. And I just grew up skiing and enjoyed it and started skiing like when I was 4. And
nice.
Like my brother was on the ski team and stuff like that, but I was not a joiner at the time. So I would say like all my sport was very self-directed. And also we moved around a lot when I was a kid. So
gotcha.
Moved to Utah, got Australia in there. So when I was in high school, and then ended up, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait a second. Hold on. Let's just rattle off.
My dad's job.
Okay. So you had Vermont, you got Utah, and then Australia. Was that like in order? Like, how long were you in Australia?
A couple of years as a teenager, and went to an all-girls private Anglican school, which was a real trip considering I was coming from the US public school system and was also not religious. So my parents were like, sure, I guess it's all girls Anglican school. Put her in there.
Yeah.
So
A
did
bit of a
that.
culture shock.
I did, yeah, I did row crew when tried that out when I was down in Australia because when in Rome. So did that. And so it was just like dabble. I'm not a sport person.
Yeah.
I've never had the attention span for like sports and sitting through like all of the athlete debriefings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was once not invited back to a fun league volleyball
Oh,
situation because my friend and I weren't taking it seriously enough. I'm like, we're doing this after work at happy hour. I thought we weren't taking it seriously.
right. It's like it's kind of
So,
implied like who was taking this seriously? Why were you taking it seriously?
I mean, a lot of people took it seriously. Apparently, like post collegiate, professional sports rings are a thing and people
You
get
know,
very
and
invested.
this kind of I played baseball in college, and after I finished up, I played like one season of like, a rec league, like baseball league, whatever. And I like thinking back on it, I feel like I was one of the people that took that the least serious
Mhm.
because of how long I played baseball. That I was like, look, I've been through the serious part of it. I'm just here to have fun now.
Yeah, I was
So
there for the happy hour. So,
yes, exactly. Like the volleyball was a bonus, I guess. Kind of a weird
yeah, I'm
bonus. It's
like,
like
oh, we have to volleyball now? Okay.
so when
What's
was
our team name?
so when was it that you first started, thinking about, or I mean, outside of playing those sports or those activities, when did you first start thinking about like exercise, health, fitness? When was that something that you were like, oh man, I kind of feel like I might need to put some attention there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, let me run it back. So freshman year, leave my parents' house, whatever, go to college and gain like the freshman, I'm gonna say 40. This is, all of a sudden you're eating like the dorm, you're like, hey, this mac and cheese, it hits, so let's
Yeah.
go for some seconds, like what's beer? Like let's, discover all that. So, put on I'd always been like a thin person and never had to worry about it. Like, never took exercise like seriously, was just as I was gifted in my body where didn't have any movement inabilities and was thin and whatever societal standards are. So, put on the freshman 40, finish my freshman year. I'm like, this is a disaster. We cannot keep this up. And so I started like, as broke college kid, and I went to the University of Minnesota, so it's really cold. But I was like, I'm gonna
Oh
walk
yeah.
3 miles. Yeah, I'm gonna walk 3 miles a day because that was what I could afford. And the gym was like all the way across campus. And I'm like, I'd rather, if I have to go all the way over there and have to walk there, why would I go in there and walk? And I didn't know what to do in the gym anyway. So started with walking and then eventually, post college, joined like just a Globo gym and, did like a personal trainer, started doing like a little weight stuff like that. And then, did that for a number of years. And then I found a like community gym in Minneapolis that was it was like a small gym. They did like spin, hit classes, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is like what a community is like. So that is kind of where I got the idea that, fitness could be more than just going to a Globo gym and doing like a couple reps and then leaving. So the the class that I took were mainly they did have they brought in CrossFit there, I think a few years
One of those
before I
where they had
left.
to
And
call it something different, right? Like maybe.
no, it was actually CrossFit.
Oh,
They
they
got an
affiliate. Oh,
affiliation,
cool.
yeah.
Oh, nice. All right.
But it was like I think I did like the intro class there and I liked it, but I was like, well, I'm already like paying all this money for like spin and hit and blah blah blah. So I'm just, and I, it's like you knew all the people already, so it wasn't like you were meeting additional people. They were just doing different stuff. So
Makes sense.
then from Minneapolis, we moved to Seattle, and I knew from my fitness cult that the best way to make adult friends is to join another cult. So, and like a small like community gym. So that was when I officially joined CrossFit when we moved to Seattle. And that was where I made my friend. And, for me, I'm a little ADHD. I do not like repetition. I loved the fact that the workouts were never the same, and you could kind of make of it what you wanted, and you could do stuff. They had activities outside the gym, like like our gym. We had holiday parties and outings and barbecues, and so I'm like, made all my friends there, and still talk to tons of people to this day. And one of my best friends she moved from Seattle back to LA. I visit her a couple times a year, and so I've gone on vacation with these people, and been a big part of my life. So when I moved down here, it's like, again, got to find another fitness cult to make adult friends.
You're like planting seeds of this cult like around the country to where you're like, I got a little group of cult over here, some in the Midwest, some in the Northwest.
Exactly.
So real quick, before we get to the move to Arizona, I was kind of jotting down some quick notes because I have some questions. So we're gonna kind of like backtrack somewhat. So you mentioned, so the kind of freshman 40, as you called it, right? So you chose walking, one from the perspective of cost, right? Seemed to be like a big driver. You mentioned that you started doing 3 miles a day. Was there any particular reason behind that number? Or were you just like, this is where I'm going to start and this is what I'm going to do, or just pick a random number?
I'm an insane person, and that seemed like a good number. I don't know.
Okay. I was curious because, sometimes you hear some of those weird numbers. It's like, oh yeah, I saw some study or read some article or something like that. But sometimes it's just like, no, that just seemed like a good, I mean, look, it was a step forward from whatever you had been doing before. Right. What did you, once you started doing that, what did you notice? Like, whether it's changes in your body, in terms of outcomes, once you started doing that consistently, what kind of things changed for you from that point?
Well, I got rid of the freshman 40, and then, also stopped drinking so much beer and moved out of the dorms with unlimited mac and cheese. So, diet and exercise.
They kind of go together, right? They kind of go together. But I think that is kind of a cool example of like, you don't like, diet and exercise are definitely powerful, and depending on where you start, you don't have to make a ton of change to see progress, but you got to do something, right? Like you said, you started walking 3 miles a day, got out of the dorm so you don't have the mac and cheese access, and stop drinking as much. That probably had a pretty darn big impact on on your health wise, right?
And like being 18, like the weight just came off because
that
when you're 18, nothing matters. Calories aren't real.
I think I was just talking to someone that it was like, it's just piss and vinegar and whatever, and you just wake up and you're operating on energy drinks and vibes, and you're just rolling through the day that way,
Yeah, I mean, I saw some like Instagram reel where somebody was like, you don't understand, millennials, when we were in the workplace in the early aughts, like we would just roll in like tequila, like 3 hours of sleep after the bar, tequila shots. It doesn't catch up with you for a while. So,
and then one day, all of a sudden, it's like,
one day you're like, I smell wine and I will not be getting out of bed. Thank you. So
tell me about that day, friend. No, I'm kidding. So walking, moved out of the dorms, less drinking. Was that basically what you did through the rest of college? Because I mean, that was what, sophomore year. So was that, I mean, through the rest of it, did you add anything else in over the course of that time?
Like a little jogging.
You mentioned having the variety of CrossFit, right? Like later on, you learned the variety of it, like was really helpful. I can imagine just walking 3 miles a day, especially in Minnesota. Half the year.
Man, I would put on like, I have like permanent like wind burn damage because I'm like every day I'm like, I won't get my steps in today. So Yeah, I think that was even pre Fitbit and stuff like that. So not to
Oh,
like
so you
age
didn't,
myself
wow.
too terribly.
So, so you managed to walk 3 miles a day without tracking it on some type of a wearable device?
I think I drove the routes that I wanted to go, and that's how I
Yeah.
figured it out. So
But I guess my real
yeah.
question is, how do we even know that you did those miles?
Hey, quick interruption from me. I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. If you are, I have a favor to ask of you. The main way that this thing can continue to spread is through word of mouth. So if you're enjoying this episode, send it to someone or share it with someone that may benefit from it or enjoy it as well. Leave a comment, drop a 5-star review, follow the show, share about it on social media. That's the main way that we can help get this message out to others so we can continue to spread this, okay? I'd really appreciate it if you do that. And now let's get back to the show.
I mean, valid question. And we should definitely dig into this more on the next podcast, which is the conspiracy theories podcast.
Wait a second. Oh, okay. No, no, we just need it. I just want a teaser of it, and then we'll figure out if we're just going to totally divert it. What's the conspiracy theory? Because I need to hear this.
Oh no. There is
Oh, I
no
thought you had
conspiracy
one.
theory.
Oh, okay.
No, I just thought it'd be funny if we just pivoted into like well, tell me about the moon landing. What are your thoughts on that? Just like went totally.
Yes, that might need to be a bonus episode.
Yeah, outtakes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so anyways, I don't know, I just got really obsessive about, and like not a bad way, just like very focused on, and this sounds like, it sounds negative, but it's not. Like I just like was like, I need to like make sure like I'm walking and like eating well and blah blah blah. And these are fortunately tools that I had from growing up, and having like a stable family who provided nutritional guidance. And so I knew I had the tools, I had the knowledge. I just needed to kind of implement as a learning adult.
Yeah,
And then
that makes sense.
yeah, and then just like the walking like was just a good way to decompress as well. So,
Yeah.
decompress mentally from all those fun classes. And there's something beautiful about being in the freezing cold tundra with the wind whipping, and it's just you. So there's
Yeah.
something very relaxing and soothing about that.
I mean, would you like listen to stuff while you were walking, or was it just would you just kind of go through the walk like?
I would put my Walkman on because I think
I wasn't sure how to ask that because I was like not I was going through my head on timing, and I was like, wait a second, was this Walkman? Was this iPod? I couldn't
yeah,
place the
I
timing.
think okay. So I got my first cell phone when I was 18 or maybe 19
Okay.
or 20. I can't remember. So I think I still had a Walkman just because like my roommate and I would record tapes, and because she would go to the gym, so we'd trade tapes. Although I think we both had CD players as well. But those were always, I don't know if you lived through the Discman days where the things would
I
always
had
skip, and
Yeah, I had the CD player days. Yeah, I had the
yeah,
CD player.
yeah. So, it's just to age myself terribly, but your wife does a wonderful job of keeping my skin looking youthful. So,
There's a plug. I'll tag her in
yeah.
as well. No, so then you were walking, incorporated some jogging, you get into
Mhm.
the class situation after college, right? You
Yeah.
join
So
a
I just joined
gym.
like a Globo gym, like a Lifetime, or what other Globo gyms, like Anytime Fitness, whatever.
Yeah.
And like, they have personal trainers there. So I think I did like one personal training thing where they're just like, these are reps, because I didn't really know anything about weights or anything like that.
That's what I was curious
And
because you mentioned the spin classes, and I was curious at what point like weight training and it was something that you were exposed to because that probably would have been the first time you'd really done any kind of weight training, right? Based off of like
yeah.
the story so far. Yeah. Okay. So how
Mhm.
was that? Was that something
Yeah.
that when it first came up, were you like, I don't know, I don't want to put word, I don't want to speak for you necessarily, but what was it intimidating? Were you nervous? Was it just like, all right, we'll figure this out? Like, how
Um,
did that? Yeah, how'd you feel about it when you first started?
gonna figure it out. I
Figure
mean,
it out.
just
Yeah.
figure it out. Because what's the worst that can happen is you look weird and somebody, hey, iPhones only kind of existed then, and social media did not. So there was like literally worst thing that happens is somebody's like, oh, look at that nerd. You know,
And the
not
only
gonna
person,
blast
the
you
only
on the
people,
internet.
yeah, you're not going to end up in some reel or something like that, right? With, look at those reps. Yeah.
Yeah. Dumb things people do at the gym.
Yeah,
So
that stuff was just it was just kept between like conversations between friends of, you won't believe what I saw this person doing the other day. It's like they got in the leg press backwards, and I don't know how they did it, but yeah. So no, that's cool to hear that it was just kind of like a figure it out. The person was that part of where that personal training session like started to kind of show you what some of those movements were and things like that.
yeah, and then so that kind of introduced me generally to just weights, but not the barbell or anything like that.
Yeah.
So then I think I was finally was getting bored of my own little like go to Globo gym or like
Yeah.
go to the apartment gym and do whatever, and wanted something a little bit different. So I looked up like a community gym, and that is unfortunately did not make it through the pandemic.
Ooh.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was too bad because they were like
Yes.
a 30-year gym too. Like they'd been
Oh, darn.
around years. So yeah, in Minneapolis. So I just looked up, they had a spin class, and it was like this total like kind of weird rabbit warren of different classes gym, like just like who in the fire warden designed this place. But I was like, this is a delight. I found my people, it was like there's only one class I've ever left, and it actually was at that same gym, and it was a dance class, and it was like not like a Zumba dance class, but like more
Yeah,
of was like kind of the 80s jazzercise. And it was fun, because it was like all these young people, young professionals doing jazz, like old school jazzercise. But I am too uncoordinated to be by a mirror, I discovered, and was like, I don't know that I'm going to be successful in this particular arena. So we're just going to pack it up. And this didn't happen.
and that's the benefit. That's another benefit of CrossFit. There are no mirrors.
Exactly.
There are no mirrors. So if you don't like working out in front of a mirror, go to CrossFit. You won't be able to see yourself, which is kind of
Yes.
nice. Yeah. So and that was the community gym that you had mentioned that ended
Mhm.
up bringing in CrossFit classes. They
Yeah.
were affiliated. Had you heard about CrossFit at all before that?
I don't think so. So I
Okay.
was
So
like, what? Basically, when it came in, I was like, what is this? They're taking up half of our hit room, and you have to pay like another $50 to go to this. But they did like an intro class for all of the members there. So I thought, and so I like at least had some familiarity with it by the time I moved out to Seattle.
gotcha.
But
So what were those first couple classes like?
I did so because I did the onboarding
Mhm.
in Minneapolis. I
Yeah.
redid the gym that I ended up joining in Seattle at the time had like a 3-session onboarding class, which was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, you go for like 3 days or 3 nights until you at least became familiar with, because it is intimidating. I mean, like I am not the brightest and walk into a lot of situations and just be like, things are going to be fine, you know? But I mean, then it's like you've got people walking around, you grabbing barbells, grabbing weights. You're like, I don't know, like what is going on. And then like the break in between like the weights and stuff like that. So having that, getting that foundation from those onboarding classes was really helpful. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
what's a WOD? What's an AMRAP? What's an EMOM? What are these things? Tell me more.
Oh yeah.
So
No, I coached some of those like on board the gym that I used to coach at in St. Louis. They had, it was either a 3 or a 5 class onboarding they offered based off of like people's experience level. And I would coach them every once in a while, and I would tell people, especially if they had not been in a CrossFit gym, I'm like, my goal for you is that you like can look at the board and see the words and be like, I think I know what we're doing. Because
yes.
the terminology can get a little funky. I mean, it kind of with most things, right? There's definitely some more complexity in it from a CrossFit perspective, but I that's kind of something that I like to tell people, newer members, is like, don't like try to not judge your experience on this until you come in, you can look at the whiteboard and you can read the workout and be like, oh my gosh, I know what we're doing today. Not that you
Hmm.
can do all of the movements, but that you look at it and you're like, I know what the workout is. At that
Yeah.
point, once you get to that point, generally, like that's usually like, okay, I've got a good handle on this. It's going to be okay. But
Hmm.
I feel like it's hard to really like get a good sense of like if it's a fit or not until you like you've got to give it some time, and that seems to be like a good dividing line, at least from what I've seen with people. But yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like that those onboarding classes for you were like a good, on ramp to like just learn like, okay, here's where all the stuff is, right? Here's what this means. Here's how the flow of class is going to go. Like, was it overwhelming at all? Like just the amount of stuff? Or did they do a good job of like kind of like breaking it down for you to be more digestible?
I think they did a really good job of breaking it down, yeah, and making it digestible. I mean, like the point is that you don't know everything, right? Just that
Right.
you are going to walk into class and not feel like, you got there to do a book report on a book that you've never read, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yep.
just being able to like, even like, why do you use the whiteboard? Like, why do you track things? Like, just even nuances like that, I think
Yeah.
are, can be confusing to people because it's like, well, oh, I don't know, I can keep track of 5 rounds. Can you though? Can you? So
It's like,
like, or
look,
why do I want to track my time? Yeah, because
okay,
it's like
so
if
let
you track your time, then you know if you're progressing.
yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Sorry,
That's such a big one. No, no, no.
you've
I was
got
gonna
some
ask about it.
lag. Are you
Yeah.
okay?
Can you hear me? You're still good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, I think that was kind of what I was gonna add. Like, and you went right to it, right? It was like how they explain the benefit of like tracking your workouts and
Hmm.
things. And it's like, yeah, that's the kind of progress that maybe like when you first start, it's hard to see the benefit in that because I've got to scale all these things, I've got to change the weight so much. Like, why am I even gonna bother? Right. Um,
Yep.
but it's so that way, like you said, 6 months down the road, you can look back and be like, oh, for this movement 6 months ago, I was doing, half the weight I'm doing today, or whatever the difference is, right? But it's hard, like you're not just going to be able to remember those things, right? So
Yeah.
writing it down, tracking that is a really, really helpful way just to be able to see for your own story, right? Like how things are going, how you're progressing, right? Um, you did mention
Yeah.
something in there about
Yeah.
like the intimidation factor of like walking into a CrossFit gym. I am curious because I've had this conversation with people before too. How would you compare like that intimidation compared to like the first time walking into big box gym and you had it's different movements, different setting. But you are still walking into a place that you're like, what are all these machines? And how
Hmm.
in the world do I use any of them? And when do I use which ones? And what do I, right? Like, so there's differing levels of intimidation. Like how, in your mind, how would you compare those two experiences?
Well, I think, you know, even though I didn't go to the gym regularly, like I had a gym membership. Like my parents had a gym membership, so sometimes I'd go to their gym and just, stick around on the. Wait, is this a PG? Like, what's our rating here? Are we like
You're fine. You're fine.
okay?
We've had some curse words. You can let them fly. You
Okay.
tried to cover one up earlier, and I was like, I was gonna say something, but like, no, you can let them go if you want to.
So I'd like dick around some machines. So I like had at least like a passing familiarity with things, which, some people don't. Some people have like, no, like, what is this treadmill? I have no idea what this is. And that's a perfectly acceptable place to start at. It's just, the privilege of being able to access that equipment is I did have access to it when I grew up. Didn't
Yeah.
use it, but so like when I walked into like a Globo gym, it wasn't super foreign. It was just learning how to use the machines correctly and like
Yeah.
how to load plates on like a leg press and stuff like that, and just having a personal trainer identify movements that would help me target what I wanted it to target, right? But I mean, like, there's no real social aspect in Globo Gym. So it's just a one-on-one, meeting somebody who you are exchanging time and money to, you're just giving them 20, $40, whatever it was at the time, to show you how to use some weights and do whatever. And then you're walking out and you're going on with your life. So there's no human interaction. Whereas like CrossFit, it's very social, which is what I like about it, because as somebody who works a remote job at home by myself, I you know, the pandemic was great for me. I never didn't have to change a thing, but I'm like, I get a little weird if I don't leave the house for like a day or something like that. So I appreciate the social aspect. So I think walking into a CrossFit gym is it's more intimidating on the social front. At least for me, it was more intimidating because there are cliques, and not in a negative way, just people that connect and talk, and you know people and you want to chit chat with them before class. So if you're coming to something new, you're seeing all these established relationships, and that's the more intimidating part. So just getting, saying hi to people in class and like, being friendly, which I am not. I've got some real resting bitch face, and there's nothing that can be done about that. We won't be fixing this. So it's like I can look unapproachable, and I know that, and I am not like the most outgoing person necessarily. So like I try to be nice to people if they're in class, but I'm not the best. So
well, we can bring up the first time you talked to me in class. I
say something
was like,
terribly rude?
It was kind of rude. Yeah.
What did I say?
It was a little bit rude. I think you started laughing
probably
afterwards, which made me, so I was like, okay, it was a joke. It was, I think you, Bree, Rachel, and Beth were all in one side. And there was like one day where like one of them wasn't there. And for whatever reason, like I was showing up, I was like right on time for class. And that was like the last spot left. So I jumped in there and you looked at me and you were like, excuse me, this is the girls' side of class. And I'm like, hello,
first of all,
hi.
Slander. I would never say that.
It's not recorded, so yes, you're right. This is a he said she said situation, but no,
conspiracy theory podcast.
Yeah, there we go. There's our second item on the list. No, but that is a fair point about the social aspect, especially if you're not expecting that, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're thinking, okay, gym setting, right? If your only experience had been in a big box gym or you hadn't been in one before, that can be a little bit of a surprise. Is the social component of it? I think and it sounds like you agree with this, like that becomes a big benefit of it. But at the start, you're like, whoa, wait a second. Like, wait, yeah, we all like talk to each other. Like, this is weird.
Yeah. Right? It's a real, like, what do I do with my hands situation,
Yeah. I still do that sometimes. Yeah. I was like, I'm just going to keep them right here. Yeah. How long did it take you for that for you to realize that you were like, oh, wait, this is actually a really cool component of this experience of like being a part of this community?
Oh no, that's why I went back, because I was like, people like seem cool, and like, yeah, the workouts are fun, but I think I did a competition, like an in-house competition, like 3 months after I joined.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think one of my second classes, I fell off a box and people were like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm just like, oh, I'm fine. I'm very bouncy. Don't worry about it. So
you're like, I'm fine. I'm gonna look fine on the outside, but inside that really hurt.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I'm very good at self-preservation and managed to fall in a way that did not hurt. So it was just like,
oh, nice.
Bounce. I'm like,
okay. There you go. Yeah. So
I'm willing to do things for the plot,
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Yeah. How was it then when you started, training with the barbell? I'm sure maybe like even some of the gymnastics moves and things like that were newer for you compared to what you had done previously. What was it like when when you first started getting into those? I mean, it was probably a bit of a foreign experience. So was it, did it take a while to get a hold of? Were you like, what like, why are we doing all this stuff? Or how did it go for you when you first got into those?
I think it took me a little bit to realize that you have to focus on one or two movements, getting those down really well. You can't fix everything at once. And I'm just like, I'm the kind of person where like, there's a problem, I want to solve it tomorrow. I want to have a plan. So like not being able to do like double unders and like, what like, I don't know, whatever else complicated thing was frustrating to me, because I'm like, I need a plan, but I'm like, okay, no, you have to focus on like one or two things, just get good at that, and then you can work on the next two things. Then sometimes things fall off the list. So when I first started, I remember Like I could not do an overhead squat with anything other than like the PVC pipe. Like that was how weak my back was. And
Really?
I'm just like, let's like everybody else is just doing overhead squats. And I'm over here with my like little PVC pipe going like, okay, coach pulls us aside and it's just like, hey, children, we're going to have you work with the, the not sharp crayons. So I went with one of the coaches. I'm like, how, like, I just feel like I'm having a really hard time with overhead squats. Like I don't have, and so she gave me exercises to improve like my shoulder muscles. So I focused on that. And then I wanted to work on like my squats. So I started focusing on that. And then I wanted to work on my push-ups. So I started focusing on that. And I just kind of kept checking things off. Some things like got deprioritized, some things I'm just like, you know what? We are not meant to be upside down, and that is okay. I don't need to know how to kick up into a handstand at the age of 40 and after never being able to do this in my entire life. Not that I couldn't, I'm just like, I just don't feel like this is important for my personal journey. So we're
It's like
just gonna do, yeah,
it's like
I'm
that
like
looks
that.
like fun, and that's a good choice for you. I love that for you. Have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. So I think those are kind of the two, like being comfortable with the movements, realizing that you can't tackle everything at once, and
Mm.
like realizing that everybody's a different body, and like you can't, like I'm just a less muscly person. It doesn't matter how much protein I eat. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, like I'd have to take drugs and I would, but I can't find them. No, I'm just kidding. I
Clearly,
wouldn't
have
do
not
that. Would
looked
never
hard
do
enough.
that.
No.
No, no. But like to like I could never be like a Tia Claire to me. Like it's just biologically impossible, especially, starting CrossFit in my mid 30s. But I can still be strong and like do a lot of
Mhm.
cool stuff, and that's okay. So I think,
Then
and yeah.
you can still find ways to, different, like you said, pick one or two things to improve on, right? And like,
Mhm.
okay, this is where I'm going to put my focus. I'm going to bump these up the kind of skill ladder a little bit, so to speak, right? And then once I feel like those are at like a good level, well, now let me go find a couple other ones that I want to work on that just kind of like, vibe with me a little bit, right? That I want to improve on. So what did was there anything about the way you approached those movements in CrossFit that you feel like benefited you outside the gym?
Yeah, well, I mean, when we lived in Washington, like did grow up hiking a lot. That was like the forced family fun that we would do all the time, on the weekends. We're going to go for a hike in the mountains. Great. Okay. So, because,
Well,
we like
hold on.
to,
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I think because now that's the second time you've said that. I think I finally realized that you're saying forced family fun. I
yeah,
think the first time I heard you say forest family fun,
well, it's
and then
forced and forest. So, it really works either way.
I think that just hit me, and I was like, oh, forced family fun. Got it. Okay,
Hmm.
now this is a callback to 45 minutes ago, the first time you said that. So I'm glad I have been paying attention. I promise.
No problem. And, what is trauma if not generational? So I have to bring my childhood trauma of forced family fun hikes to my child now.
Well, yeah.
So when so living in Seattle, like living in Minneapolis, what's a hike there? It's like, there's one hill or something like that, love you, Minneapolis, if it's listening. But, there's just like, there's no hiking there, but like going to Seattle and having a small child that can't hike, that you need to put in a pack and like ruck like a 30-pound kid
Yeah.
up a mountain. I mean, like that really translates your squats and all of the other leg movements that you do. Just generally translates. I also, no, this was before CrossFit, but I also, like when I was doing HIIT and spending a lot, I ran like 3 half marathons without training.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Without
this
training?
was in my 30s. Yes, because I'm like, I don't really like running that much. Like as a like again, a little ADHD. So I'm like, ugh, after a mile, I'm like, wow, this is pretty boring. So like there needs to be some activity in between. So
That's and
I was
that's why you
like,
went to High Rocks.
yeah. So like, I'm totally going to train for these marathons. And then I'm just like,
A lot of running.
Fuck it. We're just gonna say fuck it. We'll go with that plan.
Were you surprised by how they ended up going? I mean, not training. Like I've done one half marathon and I trained a decent amount and it still went terribly. And so I got to imagine that not training for them and then going into them and feeling like they went well, was that a surprise?
Again, not really, because I am the stupid baby that's crawling down the sidewalk while the piano dangles overhead. So I really didn't have any expectations. I'm just like, we're just gonna finish this.
Yeah, it's like we're just gonna keep going, which is
what's the worst thing that happens is like you walk,
That's a fair point. That's a good way to put it. I do feel like there's a little bit of that's learning CrossFit of like, all right, this workout's going to really suck, but we're just going to keep moving until it's over because, well, that's what we do. And I'll, modify stuff to whatever you need to, but it's like, we're just going to learn to keep moving,
Mm-hmm.
so you mentioned, having a kid. Did you start CrossFit before she was born?
So I did like an intro class at my gym in Minneapolis before she was born, and then when we moved out to Seattle, that's when I think found an apartment and then found a gym, because I'm just like, must find my people because it's lonely.
Yeah. Well, especially with essentially a baby at that age, right? Like that's that could be. I mean, how did that help you during that time of life, considering young kid, you just moved across the country? Yeah, what was the impact for you, finding that community?
Just having something outside like my immediate family, because like so we moved from Minneapolis to Seattle, and I left my job in Minneapolis, and so didn't have like a job for like a year while we got settled out there. So like that, and I'm not a stay-at-home mom person. Like that's not, I'm like, love it for anybody that is, but I'm like, I don't have the patience. I'm not a sit on the floor and play for hours kind of person. So, and I'm just not, that's fine. The 9-year-old is more my jam,
Yeah, it's like, come on, we're gonna go do something. Let's get. I got stuff.
We're gonna go to a Billie
with
Eilish show tonight. It's gonna be great. That sounds really bad, but it gave me like an outlet, something outside, like during a time where I was, in between trying to figure out what I wanted to do next career-wise in a new city, keeping an outlet outside of my, just husband and child, my husband who had work, and then, my daughter was like in playgroup and stuff like that. So it gave me something to do for myself that was like mine, and, way to meet people that wasn't just people that were other moms. And I love other moms, but it's like, you don't want to talk, like, I don't want to talk about my kid all the time. Love her, but I don't want to talk about her all the time. So
you're like, part of it's like, I want to like be around grownups and talk about grown-up stuff.
Yeah. I want to like go to like, I don't want to go to a kid birthday party. I want to go to a grown-up birthday party. So
and that makes sense, like that help. It was, what's that? Oh my goodness, the thing, I don't know, it's like the whole third place theory or whatever it's called, right? Where you got like home and work, which, ironically enough, like you said, it's kind of the same way for me too, working from home. It's like two of those are kind of the same thing. And the gym, it sounds like for you, and it has been for me, is like that third place where it's like, I'm just gonna go hang out with my friends, and yeah, we'll work out too.
Yeah. Well, especially like not, back in the olden days, they had like bowling alley, like bowling halls, and like, the rec league and stuff like that. We just don't have that anymore. And and especially like for people, and you can cut this out if you want, especially for people that aren't particularly religious or not at all religious, like there's in no universe where I could go to a church and like find a community, because that's just not who I am. And it's like, if that is you and you can find that third space at church, like that's totally you. But it's like, there's a lot of people that don't have a third space and don't know how to find a third space because it's so limited. And, like our time is limited, our just options are limited. We're more individual and less community focused. And I think that the CrossFit gym is a nice third space for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, you think about, like we've kind of hammered the point a little bit, the social and the community component. Then you layer in that it's, 1 hour class times. So from a time perspective, compared to just going to a gym on your own time, right? Very different approach, where, class is going to begin at this time and it's hopefully most of the time going to end an hour later. Right. And, cherry on top, which is ironic because it's kind of the purpose behind the whole thing, is like you're getting healthier and stronger and fitter.
Mm-hmm.
So, find me many other places that can do those things for people. And, it's a very, very short list. And I feel like CrossFit sets itself apart in a lot of ways. And CrossFit gyms, not all of them. I feel like I need to throw this qualifier in there. They're not all perfect, right? Just like any time there's a lot of a certain thing. They're not all perfect. I get that. But you find a good one that hits all those things for you. Like that is a third place if I've ever heard one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for people, like if somebody happens to be listening, that's like comes across this and they're looking for that, go check out your local CrossFit gym. It sounds intimidating, right? And you're like, wait, what? The thing that people do on ESPN? It's like, well, yeah, a version of that, right? It's like the version for the everyday person.
You're not going to do that, but well, you
It's
could
like
do
not you on
something
day one, like
yeah.
maybe one day, and if it happens for you, great.
And I've also found it has I've CrossFit's adapted as my life has adapted and evolved. And so when I first started doing CrossFit, I got very into we're gonna go to competitions and did all the intramural gym comps and that kind of stuff, and really wanted to get a lot stronger. And so very focused on, eating right and all that. I mean, not that I don't eat right, but you know what I mean? Making sure I hit my macros every single day and had a real target that I wanted for my deadlift and my back squat and my front squat. Well, that's not me anymore. I'm, a different version of myself than I was 5 years ago, which, we all evolve. And so as I've evolved, I am evolving how I approach CrossFit too. I'm not tracking my workouts anymore because I just needed to separate I needed to separate the competition from the activity, where I was very mentally competitive with myself, being gotta get on the leaderboard, gotta finish, at least in this time domain and blah, blah, blah. I'm well, I don't want to do that anymore. That's stressful and it wasn't serving me what it was not serving the purpose that I needed it to anymore. So I've adjusted my mentality by going lighter and saying if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to modify it because that's the great thing about CrossFit. It's infinitely scalable. And what I always say to people, it's you don't need the weight there is just a number, and whatever you do around it is your business. Unless you're logging is the number one spot and you don't do the reps, then we're going to have problems.
Sounds like you have come across
never
a so-called rep shaver or two. But that's such
a God.
Oh, wait, are we going conspiracy theory on rep shavers? Oh,
no,
goodness. Okay, you had a reaction there. I was like, are we going down this route? Because we could. No. But
did you see it?
The way you explain that, just kind of the way it evolves and how, I guess I'm curious, as you mentioned that, do you feel like your life goals shifted first and then how you approach CrossFit almost had to catch up to that? Or were you able to see, I'm curious how those things kind of move together? Is it, okay, this stage of life, whatever that was, right? Okay, my focus and energy needs to be in a different place for a period of time. And did you keep trying to push the CrossFit side of it, and then you realize that's probably not going to work, and I need to kind of dial. How did that go?
Well, I think just I'm 45, and just anyone can do anything forever. If you're talking about 75-year-old women doing high rocks and stuff like that, but sometimes it starts not to feel so great on your body. You have more, you age, and that's just part of life. And so I was just noticing that I wasn't feeling as great physically after some of the harder workouts when I was like going pretty heavy. My recovery wasn't as good and as quick. And I'm like, I hate to be down. Like I want to keep moving. I want to keep doing things. So I don't want to injure myself. And it's like, this is all just for me and for my health and like my benefit. So it's whatever I make it. So I felt like just the way I was feeling physically, it was important for me to detach like the competitive aspect of like the tracking and like kind of that more like, gotta be the top leaderboard, personal leaderboard, gotta, get all the reps in as fast as I can, gotta beat this person and, all that stuff. So I needed to start kind of for my own longevity, start like detaching the two and like leave the competitive. And for me, I did that by just not tracking the time anymore and being honest with myself when I'm like, I shouldn't do this and not trying to like push through it and just be like, my knee feels a little weird. We should probably put another like 25 pounds on here.
That's
So,
that's such a and that makes a ton of sense, right? It's like you're was it there's some book called like Your Body Keeps the Score. It's and that's I haven't read that book. Lindsay read it. I think we have it somewhere. But it's kind of a version of that, right? Where like your body was signaling to you like, hey, something's going on here. And so, it was good that you listened to it and then took that approach to shift it, because I feel like there are let me see if I can say this nicely and politely. There are groups of people on the interwebs, I think kids call it the gram, that get to that point, and
would
then
it maybe be the TikTok? Do the
it
kids still
could
do
be the
that? Or are we
TikTok. It could be
snapping?
oh goodness gracious. I haven't been on Snapchat in like 10 years. I still have not downloaded TikTok. So I don't know.
I
I
mean,
feel like I was very strong against Instagram for a long time, and we've seen how that's turned out. Oh goodness gracious, I'm all over the place there.
that kid will never make it.
But okay, so what was my point? Oh yeah. So on the interwebs, there are a large contingent of people that are essentially building their business off of CrossFit broke me. And but what it sounds like, if I had to guess, it's people that got to the point that you got to, which was my knees bugging me, my back, just different things in your body were starting to feel off. And where you took the approach of, I'm going to start scaling this and making it what I need it to be so that way it can serve my health and my longevity, where those people just continue to push that and ignore what their body was telling them. And then, of course, it got worse, because it's not like when you just ignore a problem, it doesn't just go away, right? It continues to get worse. And then they're like, well, CrossFit's stupid and it broke me. It's like, well, no, you didn't do the thing that we want you to do, which is listen to your body and then scale appropriately. It's relative intensity, right? Like you've got to listen to what your body's signaling to you and then modify accordingly. And if there was a coach that was forcing you to do it or telling you, oh, you should do it, or oh, you're being a pansy, well, then I'm sorry. But also, like, you didn't have to. And I'm sorry that you feel that way, but that CrossFit didn't break you. Sorry, rant over.
Well, and I just love like at our gym where we have like, no, I'm on board. And I think it's really great at our gym where we've got, people from, sometimes high school students come in, and then we've got, people in their like late 70s and whatnot. So it's like, it can be anything to anyone. And I just think it's like, maybe that part isn't as recognized so much by just when you start, because you're like, when you start, depending on like your mentality, you can be very focused on the competitive aspect, at least like I was, because I was like, this is fun, you're competitive with yourself and you want to get a better score. And like, we just did this workout 6 months ago. I like gotta kill my time. I think like what kind of clicked for me is just one day I really pushed on a workout and like my time was much greater than my previous workout. I'm just like, this, like, what am I doing? It's like, I don't enjoy it. Like, I don't need to do the prescribed weights. I could have had just a good workout if I had dropped it 10 pounds, took my ego out of it a little bit, dropped it 10 pounds and, felt a lot better about the whole situation. I wouldn't have felt defeated. I would have felt accomplished.
Yeah.
So
And
I also did not come from like a competitive athlete background where like that mentality of like winning was drilled into me, which also can make a difference just in like being able to decouple the competitive versus the health benefit side of things.
I totally agree with you. And as someone that came from that background, it took me a long time to sort that out. Way longer than I needed to. Way longer than it needed to. A couple knee tweaks here and there that I still just was like, nah, I can figure it out. I can push through it. And like, no, that's not very
Marco,
smart.
that is a bone sticking through here.
I will tell you this is like one of my like hills that I'll die on is like CrossFit is, there's that whole thing about CrossFit is unsafe. It's like, no, CrossFit is safe if you don't do dumb shit. Like just as my own example, I've kind of tweaked the like I would guess a meniscus in my knee like a couple times, and both times I was doing weighted pistols without warming up. Like that's not smart, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't CrossFit didn't do anything. That was me being dumb,
Yeah. There are some workouts where I'm just like, okay, can we the first round is the warm up? Let's be honest here. So we don't need to come on, like let's just get going. Like for snatches, I'm like, sure, I'll warm up all day. Other workouts, I'm like, no. Round one, call it.
And I'm going to throw in a bit of a qualifier / footnote on the way you're kind of explaining that too, because I've been in class with you, and it's not like you're not just showing up and not putting effort in, right? Like you're still going in and you're working hard. You're putting in intensity relative to what you have to offer that day, but you're modifying it so that way you're not like, I'm just not going to pound myself into the ground unnecessarily.
Yeah, it's like taking off 10 pound, like not doing like a 95-pound squat, doing an 85-pound squat, it's like, I'm pretty sure I'm still getting the benefits there.
What would you say now? Like, we've kind of talked about like the whole life evolution, so to speak, and how CrossFit evolves it, like where you are now. If you had to summarize how you approach what you want CrossFit to do for you from a fitness perspective, how would you word that?
I really want to maintain my strength is for my goal currently is like, I'm not going to focus on, trying to max my PR. I'm not going to, my max lift day is going to look a lot different now because I'm not going to put that pressure on myself because it's just not, and it's like, I just can't, the old knees are not so good with the squat, like the heavy squats. Like, it's just like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, I'm still doing, heavy weights for me. When I first started doing CrossFit, we had like a barbell class, like one of those optional like 2 nights a week barbell class. And one of the other women who was new at the time, we both signed up just so we could become more familiar with specifically like, I think it was front squats, back squats, and clean and jerks. Actually, maybe it was just jerks. Not important to the story. We don't need to worry about that. But it was like a bunch of dudes like you who could do really heavy weights, and like a bunch of gals who were also like, looked like they had games aspirations. And, this was nearly 10 years ago. So, CrossFit Games 10 years ago type thing. Like they actually probably could have made it.
It's like that was a more reachable goal at that point. Right?
Yeah. I think like one of the guys in class went to like regionals back when that was a thing.
Dang. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he beat Rich Froning in like one of the workouts at regionals.
I would be telling everyone I know about that for the rest of my life.
I mean, he did, and I'm repeating it to you now. So if you ever listen to this, his name is Sam. So he lives in Seattle. You beat Rich Froning one time.
Sam, you're a legend. All right.
So, but it's like a bunch of like people who knew what they were doing with their fitness and weightlifting and stuff like that, where it's like we're just these little like newbies, and we walked in, and like I remember my like being so proud that my back squat by the end of that was 65 pounds.
Nice.
Like from like over 6 weeks, it was like started out like 45 and then like ended at like 65, which is like a big jump in like terms of weight. But then a few years later, I like maxed out at 200 pounds. Could not get there today if you put a gun to my head, but I did it one time, and that's what matters. That's what a
You're
PR
like,
is.
check that box. It was done.
Take
It
that
was
one.
done.
But it's like that. It's really cool to see like the weightlifting evolution. And it's like, even though like those days are behind me, it's like I still really enjoy it and really enjoy it at a lighter weight. So because it turned
How does
out it's
that?
a little bit easier. I'm just kidding.
It's like, wow, that lighter weight feels so much nicer.
Yeah.
I
Well,
will
it's
tell you,
like, yeah.
I did that the other day, and it was so nice.
Yeah.
It was some the hang power snatch burpee workout we had in class, and I
Mhm.
just saw the weight like before the WOD started, and I'm like, don't feel like doing that RX weight, so I knocked it down, and it was awesome. But that meant I
Yeah.
just went faster on the burpees, which also sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the trade off. So no, that's cool to hear in terms of like that evolution, and so like you want to maintain, you're maintaining strength, right? Still continue to obviously show up, get good workouts in, right? And just kind of do what feels right for your body based off of where you are on any given day. How does that kind of transfer into life outside the gym for you these days in terms of like, okay, I want to maintain my strength so that, dot dot dot, I can do XYZ thing outside of the gym.
I mean, I think it's really important if you ever think you might need to outrun the cops one day. So, really, like, what if you need to scale a wall? What if a rope just drops from the sky and you're like, you know what? Nobody can get up that rope except for me. So I've got the
You
skills. No, I'm
you
just
did
kidding.
you did mention you were trying to find drugs earlier, so that doesn't seem like a totally implausible idea.
So, no, I think just continue. I like CrossFit. It's like a quick workout, right? Or it can be quick or it can be long. But I think if you are somebody who struggles with just kind of paying attention and being present, especially
Mhm.
like during workouts where, I mean, like still lose track of counting all the time, whatever. What's 30 versus 29? Whatever, close enough. So,
I think
um,
that's enough.
yeah, close enough. Anyway, so, but, being able to kind of keep and maintain that strength, do workouts that I enjoy, um, just continue living a healthy life and like keeping my foundation of health. And, I still hike a lot. I like to be able to just do things without a lot of like preparation or planning, like the lack
Half
of,
marathon.
yeah, I mean, like the the amount of planning that or training that I'm going to do for high rocks is like not an embarrassing little amount. So,
But that's the benefit of CrossFit and like the
right.
approach of the program, right? Is that like in theory you're generally prepared to go do just about anything. If you want
Hmm.
to like excel and like be at the top of that thing,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to put in some specific work on that thing. It's not going to like specifically prepare you for an activity. But like you want to jump into a high rocks race last minute because somebody dropped out and you've been doing CrossFit consistently for however long, you're going to be okay. You're not going to win, but you're going to get it done.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, was I was going to do the high rocks in New York last year, and it was gonna be really cool. It was on like the pier outside. I was supposed to go with Bree, but she had hurt her back, so she had to back out. So I had like a couple months to find a new partner. So I'm like, okay, no problem. So I messaged when I checked around the gym. Nobody could, fly to New York randomly on a Saturday in May.
How
So,
how
so
dare
nobody's
how
able to
dare
go. But
they?
I reached out to a couple, like, right? What do you mean you have obligations? What do you mean you have a budget? So I reached out to one of my friends from my gym in Seattle, and she had done a high rocks race previously. Um, and she was like, yeah, I'm down. I'll go with you. So just, from my relationship in Seattle to somebody I met at the gym who had since moved to Chicago, I just randomly on Instagram was like, hey, do you want to go do this crazy thing with me? And she's like, yep, got my tickets. Let's go. Let's do it. And then she got walking pneumonia the week of the race. So we couldn't do it. But I was like, oh, that
No.
was such a good good story if we made it work. But it's like she was prepared just to go into it without any additional training because she still does CrossFit and running and stuff like that. So
It's
yeah.
like it's gonna keep you.
And I would like to say, if any women, middle-aged women are thinking about joining CrossFit and you're afraid of getting bulky, it will not happen. I have tried. It will not happen. You are trapped by your genetics to some extent. So
Well, and actually, you know what? And this is it's funny because I think okay, this whole conversation, like, or having you on the podcast started when we were talking about Meredith Root, who you've worked with in the past from a nutrition coaching standpoint, right? And I remember I saw a reel, and I think it was her that put it up, and it's something that I had heard before, but when she put something up, it was like it was amazing, and it like hit home for me that it was like, oh, you think after a few months of like working out 3 times a week and like not looking at what you're eating that you're going to be too bulky and that's what you're scared of. It's like, well, I was, I don't remember how she put it, but she laid out like her whole training schedule and basically was like, you're not going to work anywhere near hard enough to get as bulky as you think you are. And I don't say that to be demeaning to people, but it's almost like the reality check of like the people that you look at as bulky. Tia, who we've mentioned on here, right? And not that, some people would look at her and consider her bulky, but if you looked at what she had to do to get to that point, considering what the demands on her body are for her sport, like nobody's doing that.
And that's like literally her job,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, this is my hobby. I don't like, I think I've said this to you before, but my motto with CrossFit is that you don't need to be good at your hobbies. You just need to enjoy them.
I have heard you say that before, and I was just like, you know what? That's a good point. I like that. Yeah, it's like enjoy it, get a benefit from it, like still show up and work hard, but like, yeah, you're not going to get bulky. Okay, I have one last question for you. And I'm going to ask it a little bit differently than I typically do, but before I get there, like, thank you for just kind of sharing your story and giving your perspective on like how it's impacted you and benefited you, right? Like it's so cool to hear all these different perspectives on like how CrossFit has played into people's lives, and I feel like hearing how it's impacted you and how it's evolved with you as your life has shifted too is just really, really cool to hear. So my last question for you, I want you to think about kind of how we're just kind of like giving little bits and pieces of like advice to people thinking about trying CrossFit. But I want you to think about like maybe the working mom that's out there that thinks like, oh man, like things are just really busy, young kids working, and where am I going to find time for, myself and health and fitness and working out? And I'm supposed to be doing X, and I need to stare at the sun as soon as I wake up, and I got to do cold showers and do all this stuff, right? Whatever, garbage stuff people talk about on the interwebs. But I want you to think about that person and think like, okay, they, so one of them comes to you and it's like, I'm hearing about CrossFit, but I'm not quite sure if it's something I want to try. Like you've been doing it for a while. What do you think? Why do you think that's something that I should try? Like, what would you say to someone in that situation?
I think once you get kind of integrated into the CrossFit movement, it's something you can do also by yourself. A lot of them, there's a lot of like body weight movements that stuff like that you can do at home. So if you can't make it into the gym, you don't even need weights. You can do push-up. So you can, evolve your, like you can just do push-ups, air squats, and, something else. And there you go. You got a nice little circuit, do some running. So it's not something that you necessarily have to go into the gym for. I'd say like it's a good way to build additional community and, get some additional perspective just from people that maybe you don't want to join a mom group. You can bring your kid in and set them up with babysitter iPad. So sometimes it's necessary, whatever, it's fine, and that CrossFit's like just a good community generally, and it will expose you to additional people and opportunities and perspectives, and outside of like doing a Pilates class where it's a lot of like women, which love a women only space, but it's cool to like see these like really strong women and like really strong dudes like do these like incredible things with these weights and these, like their bodies. Like there are some like women where you see them lift and you're just like, oh my God, that's just the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, watching like Tia or like Laura, what's her last name?
Horvath?
Yeah, Horvath. Like watching them lift, I'm like, wow, the limit just does not exist for, for women. Like they're still really pushing the boundaries. So I think it's just a really cool space for women to be in that they shouldn't be intimidated in, especially like middle-aged women. I mean, like, come on, we're out of fucks to give. Like, what else do you got? So take some time for yourself, build a different community, meet some new
Awesome.
people, meet some different people.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I love that. I love that. Right. And part of it, which by the way, a great Mean Girls reference. I will not let that. I will not let that slide by without saying so. It's awesome. But also too, like I was curious because it's all like the way you started that answer, you leaned into the community aspect heavily, which was really cool. But and then you kind of came around to the strength component too, which is also really cool, just from like how you tied it together. I was curious if you were even going to get to that point, and I was like, man, it's almost this weird thing where like the quality of the workout, it's like a given, right? It's like, yeah, you're going to show up, you're going to get a good workout, right? But here's like the extra reason to show up that sets this thing apart from others.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's just, there's a lot of people in, our country that can't do squats just because like it's something like that you're biologically capable of, but a lot of people don't actually know how to squat, and like they squat in with their knees. And it's like, learn how to use your own body better. And like, that's amazing. Like, cause I think like, like you see people doing squats like at a Globo gym or something like that. And you're like, ooh, your knees are like going in. And it's like, I love that you're working out and it's like amazing, but I don't want you to hurt yourself. So, and I think like having that foundation, like getting that foundation for proper movement too, is also something that's pretty unique to CrossFit. Like if you go to a normal like HIIT class or something like that, they're like fitness class coaches. Like they're not giving you individual hands-on like corrections or anything like that. And it's like the music pounding it, whatever class, like they're not going to be like, hey, don't round your back. That's really bad. So just like best of luck with God. So I think like that's the other thing, learning how to move your body for longevity is super cool. And being able to properly do a squat so your knees don't totally collapse is a real like benefit to life. You need your knees to get up and down. So.
Me and Lindsay joke about that all the time, but it's like, when you're with her being a nurse, she always says it's like you want to be able to get up and down off the toilet by yourself. So a nurse like me doesn't have to do that for you. And well, you can imagine what other things come with that, right? But yeah, it's like you want to be able to do that yourself. And so if you learn to do that properly and develop the strength in your legs, that way you can continue to do that for the rest of your life. Like, why wouldn't you want to take that? And then you can also like be around cool people that you're all kind of working on doing the same thing. Like,
yeah. And it's like, even if I can't do that cool thing, I'm amazed that you can do that. And like, I am so proud for you. It's like seeing like Carly, get her first like handstand to like handstand walk. I'm like, could never be me, but I'm amazed. Like, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. And like seeing people and being able to have pride in like, it is like a team in that sense where it's like you can just be proud of other people's accomplishments and, live vicariously through them. They do their cool little handstand walks, and I'm like, it's amazing, you sweetie. You're doing amazing.
That is, I know I said that was the last question, but we're just gonna ride this vibe out. That piece of it, I can't believe I had kind of put this together until you mentioned it. Like having a place where you can do something you've never done before and to have other people around you that are like, holy crap, that was awesome. Good job. I'm proud of you. Like there's
like people tell you you're really good at that. And you're like,
huh?
Me? This person? And it's like, when is anybody going to be like, that's really cool that you can do this insert exercise?
Yeah. I mean, and it's, that like, goodness, that feeling of just being able to like do something and look around and know that people are like happy for you because in, if roles were reversed, you would be super happy for them. Like that bond that's built there and something like that within a thing that's benefiting everybody. You're not going to get like there's such a small number of places where you can even start to find something like that.
Yeah, and it's all cool. It's like, think about that. It's like, back squatting 65 pounds is really impressive from 45 or 35 pounds. Like, that's really cool. Like, haven't seen somebody like back squat, 300 pounds. Like, that's amazing. It's all amazing. And it's like, when are you going to get a chance to see somebody possibly hit their best?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's like, I'm so glad we got to that point. We're going to land the plane on that, because that point in itself is like really powerful. And I want people to just walk away with that, walk into the gym the next day you go to class, find someone that's doing something better than they typically do. And just go up to them and say, hey, that was awesome. I saw you worked really hard for that. I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
None of this was recorded, right? Clip that.
I swear I have to do this every once in a while. I check and I like move my mouse to see at the top that it still says recording. Because if I ever got this far into it and I hadn't hit record yet, I'd just shut this whole thing down.
I would never talk to you again. I'd be like, you know what? Why doesn't Katie talk to Mark anymore? Why don't you ask her?
It's like, because that
he made her stay up an hour past her bedtime and had the audacity not to record.
All right. On that note.
Okay.
Now it's bedtime for everybody. I'm going to finish this coffee and then go to sleep. So Katie, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story and your perspective on it. I really appreciate it.
An honor and a privilege, sir. Have a good evening.
Until episode 2 for conspiracy theories.
Yes. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing with a friend. To get notified of future episodes, please follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you can continue to hear these stories. For more behind-the-scenes content of everyday CrossFitters, follow on YouTube and Instagram at Silverback Media. Until next time, this has been the Silverback Media Podcast.